About a reading piece today called A Smart Cookie. You might have heard that phrase before, a smart cookie. That's an idiom. Idioms are words we use to describe phrases that native language learners would know. Probably the most popular idiom I've heard of is butterflies in my stomach, which means I'm nervous. You also might know it's raining cats and dogs. Someone who just got off the plane from another country who did not speak our language but knew what words meant would not understand that. It's raining cats and dogs would mean it is raining very hard. So that's one thing I'm going to be conscious of when I'm reading this piece, a smart cookie. That's an idiom, and it usually means a really bright and clever person. Whenever you get a piece, kind of good idea to just glaze over it and see what it is. It looks like I have a pretty short piece here. Total 1, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs and a sentence. I've got 2 hyperlinks that show me there's probably going to be more to learn about those 2 items. Got a little text feature here as a picture. Mercy, 1992 by Nick Quianjo. And I'm looking here at the author, Sandra Cisneros. Translated by Alina Poniatowska. So this piece was originally written in another language and was translated for us. So I'm going to have to pay attention to those types of things. For example, maybe grammar might not be 100% what I'm used to. Always with a piece that has questions, I look at the questions first. They help me get a purpose for what I'm reading. Number 1 says, what connections can you make to the piece A Smart Cookie and what your own hopes for the future are like? How does the story connect to what others might want for their future? All right, that's a big question. First thing I see though, this word connections. I know how to make connections. That's how I connect things to my own life or to stuff I see on TV or movies or whatever. So my hopes for the future, I better get those in my head because I know I'm going to have to connect them. Money and power, if I'm correct at being an American. Money and power and happiness, right? All right. And others might want for the future. I think that's kind of the American dream, to have enough money to have a family and take care of your family. So I'll keep that in my brain. Connections and future. Number 2. When Esperanza's mother uses the idiom smart cookie to describe herself, what does she mean? Don't know that yet, but I know what a smart cookie is. It's supposed to be a really clever kid. Esperanza, that's a Hispanic name. I'll have to pay attention to that. Could this be a Hispanic piece? Probably. 3 says, what does Esperanza's mother mean when she says, got to take care all your own? So I know there's going to be 2 characters in this piece, Esperanza and her mother. Got to take care all your own. Well, what I think that means right now, before I've even read it, is you got to take care of yourself and you got to, not depend on other people for what you need. You got to do it yourself. How does this statement relate to her comments about education? Don't know that yet. Haven't read her comments about education. Number 4 says, what advice is Esperanza's mother giving to her daughter? I know this is probably going to be a piece that's a conversation between a mother and a daughter. And I should listen for some kind of advice. From your experience, do you think Esperanza is likely to follow her mother's advice? Well, it's kind of funny. My experience, I usually did what my mother told me. Describe Esperanza's mother's attitude toward education. So how does Esperanza's mother feel about education? All right, I'll have to pay attention to that. And what is the author trying to teach us through this story? So that's a transformation question at the end. Now I have my ideas, what I'm looking for. I can read this piece. I'm going to be highlighting during this piece. We like to highlight our text so we know what we're looking for. Always highlight the title. Smart Cookie. We know this was translated. I could have been somebody, my mother says and sighs. Not a really happy thing, a sigh. She has lived in this city her whole life. I wonder which city it is. She can speak 2 languages. There's that thing we talked about earlier. Probably Hispanic author. She can sing an opera. Cool. She knows how to fix a TV. But she doesn't know which subway train to take to get downtown. Well, it's a subway and they're downtown. And they're Hispanic. I'm going to go with New York. I hold her hand very tight while we wait for the train to arrive. I wonder how old this author is if she has to hold her mother's hand. She used to draw when she had time. Now she draws with a needle and thread. Little knotted rosebuds, tulips made of silk thread. So she used to be creative and now she has to take care of a family. Someday she would like to go to the ballet. Means she's never been. Someday she would like to see a play. Wow, if you live in New York and you haven't done these things, you're kind of missing out. She borrows opera records from the public library and sings with velvety lungs, powerful as morning glories. I can tell this author kind of respects her mother's singing talent. Today, while cooking oatmeal, she is Madame Butterfly. Well, let's see who that is. Madame Butterfly. I've heard that before. I don't know what it is. It's something. It's a show. Madame Butterfly is an opera in 3 acts by Giacomo Puccini, an Italian libretto. All right, and it's an Italian opera. Is a staple of the standard operatic repertoire. So everybody does Madame Butterfly who can. Thank you, Wikipedia. Today, while cooking oatmeal, she is Madame Butterfly until she sighs, there's that, and points the wooden spoon at me. I could have been somebody you know. Esperanza, you go to school. Study hard. That Madame Butterfly was a fool. Oh, there's an opinion about school. I could have been somebody, which means she thinks she's a nobody. Madame Butterfly was a fool. She stirs the oatmeal. Look at my comadres. Comadres. Comrades? Comadres. Comrade. Comrades. Redirects here. Friend, colleague, or ally. So look at my friends. Look at my allies. She means Izarua, whose husband left, and Yolanda, whose husband is dead. Got to take care all your own. That's something from a question, she says, shaking her head. Then, out of nowhere, shame is a bad thing, you know? That came out of nowhere. It keeps you down. You want to know why I quit school? Oh, she quit school. Because I didn't have nice clothes. No clothes, but I had brains. Yup, she says, disgusted. Stirring again. I was a smart cookie then. And that's the end of the piece. So she's disgusted when she calls herself the smart cookie. And I know a smart cookie's a really bright kid. So if she is disgusted when she says it, she probably doesn't believe it. I was a smart cookie. That's sarcasm. I do that all the time. When I see a kid doing something really stupid, I go, nice job, you're looking great there. I'm sarcastic. So's this person, I guess, this mother. Let's take a look at our questions. What connections can you make to the piece A Smart Cookie and what your own hopes for the future are like? Well, it says she used to draw. I remember that. Now she draws with a needle and thread. She wants to go to the ballet. She wants to see a play. I've done those things. I've been to the ballet. I've seen a play. She can sing. So, what connections can I make to the piece? I have done many of the things that Esperanza's mother would like to do. i.e., that means, for example, the play, the ballet. I like to draw. What did she want for her future? I guess she wanted nice clothes. She didn't have any. She has a daughter. I don't know if she has any man in her life. She says, look at my comrades. Their husbands are gone or dead. So what connections can you make to the piece, and what are your hopes for the future life? How does the story connect to what others might like for the future? Esperanza's mother wanted a better future for herself. She's a bit helpless in, I'll just say the city because I don't know it's New York. The city. Her talents are wasted. All right, so there's my answer. When Esperanza's mother uses the idiom smart cookie to describe herself, what does she mean? That's up here. She says, disgusted, I was a smart cookie. So she means the opposite. That she was foolish to quit school. All right, what does Esperanza's mother mean when she says, got to take care all your own? How does this statement relate to her comments about education? Got to take care all my own. Got to take care all your own, she says, shaking her head. Then, out of nowhere, shame is a bad thing. She means Azura, whose husband left, and Yolanda, whose husband is dead. Madam Butterfly was a fool. You study, you go to school. She wants Esperanza to not have to rely on anyone. She wants this Esperanza to get a good education. All right, what advice is Esperanza's mother giving her daughter? From your experience, do you think Esperanza is likely to follow her mother's advice? Go to school, right? Then she says, out of nowhere, shame is a bad thing. It keeps you down. You want to know why I quit school? Because I didn't have nice clothes. So her advice is, shame is a bad thing and stay in school. So she is saying that shame is a bad thing and it kept her from getting an education. I think Esperanza will take the advice. I can tell that from how she talks about her mother. And she cares about her mother. She has powerful lungs as powerful as morning glories. She hangs out with her mother in the kitchen at least. She holds her hand tight. So she cares about her mother. She'll probably follow her mother's advice. And describe Esperanza's mother's attitude toward education. What is the author trying to teach us? So kind of two things. 2 questions here to finish it up. She thinks education is important. She says, you go to school, study hard. Madam Butterfly was a fool. It will help her daughter not depend on others. I think the author is trying to teach us about shame through the mother. Shame can hurt us and our futures. And that's just one piece out of our textbook called Smart Cookie. Questions are at the end. Always helps to know your questions before you start reading so that you know what you're getting into. That was me being a good reader, thinking while I read. See you next time.